mermaids can be any race or ethnicity because they live in the ocean, right? Depends what maybe part of the world. This one, there's a strong hint that this was the Caribbean. This was sort of the area where this story was taking place. So if that's the story taking place, it makes sense that she. What's up? It's Jim Alexander with Real Talker, and today I am reviewing the Little Mermaid live action film. So let's take a look.
You broke the rules. You went to the above world.
A man was drowning. I had to save him.
This obsession with humans has to stop.
I just want to know more about them. Ariel, don't!
Okay, so naturally, this film is going to get a reaction. People are very protective of their childhood. This is one of those films where it's going to be polarizing, like it or not. You know, people are going to hate the changes, dislike the casting, as we've seen that for whatever reason. People have really dogged on Halle Bailey, and I'll go get into why she was a good fit for this role. But people keep their Disney IPs very personal to them. So either they'll love it or like it. I don't think there's much in between here, but let's break down this film. So it is a direct sort of remake from the original animated film. It's almost line for line. Yes, there's some dialogue change along the way, but otherwise it's pretty faithful to it, although it does add 45 minutes to the film. So with that added time, they do add some scenes and a cute couple musical numbers, one by Prince Eric, and I think Scuttle has one too. So otherwise it's pretty faithful to the original in many ways. So if you've seen the original, you pretty much know what you're getting in this film. There's no surprises really. Well, there are some, we'll touch on that, but like overall story wise, it's pretty much faithful to what you would know Little Mermaid to be in that context. So in that way, yes, you're kind of just seeing a movie you're familiar with, just on a different scale in live animation. So we're not going to go into detail for that, because what the hell for? We know what it's about and what happens here. Now, let's go with what this movie ended up being. Okay, so there's good and bad, and I feel like most of this review is going to be a good thing and then a bad thing, about it. And I'm trying to keep my personal, connection to the original away from this and not let it tarnish, but it's hard at certain points. So let's go with the casting. I thought Halle Bailey was great. I thought her singing was fantastic. The singing in this movie is a major plus. Melissa McCarthy deserves a lot of kudos for that too, and apparently she hired a voice coach and all that. She did a great job, because I don't know Melissa McCarthy to be a singer of sorts. She did a really good job. Overall, the singing's good all around. Halle Bailey's voice is incredible. It's just well done. So the singing, there won't be disappointments. Now, the songs, yes, there's some added ones. We're missing one when Sebastian's getting chased by Chef Louis. It's not included because that scene's not included for whatever reason. And I'm sure it's going to bug a few people here, because that is such a kind of iconic scene and thing that they remember the film by. So not sure why they didn't go with that. For whatever reason, it wasn't there. Now let's go with the casting. Like, okay, Halle Bailey, like I said, I thought, for those that are hating on it, here's my counterpoint to that. So you are looking for someone. A mermaid doesn't need to be white. Yes, the character was white and probably had some Danish origins, if we're really digging deep, with Hans Christian Andersen creating the story. But mermaids can be any race or ethnicity because they live in the ocean, right? Depends what maybe part of the world. This one, there's a strong hint that this was the Caribbean. This was sort of the area where this story was taking place. So if that's the story taking place, it makes sense that there would be many variations and that she wouldn't be necessarily white. So for me, the important thing is, could she sing? She did. They did a phenomenal job with the singing, and Hallie really poured her heart out to it. And that's a key thing. You can't just cast like people wanted, oh, let's hire a white actress with, auburn or red hair. Okay, well, we don't have that many. You're not going to hire Jessica Chastain, right? Because she's not age appropriate. Emma Stone, yeah, she can sing in La La Land. We saw that, but also not that age appropriate for this character. Remember, distinctly, this character is a teenager, right? Well, like 16 years old. You can't really go with someone older. Who else would fit that criteria? Not many redheads like that would really fit this role. Sure, you can always color hair, but someone that needs to sing. Hallie did that. Age appropriate. She's young. She's 23 now. She was 19 when she was cast. Like, she does have that youthful look and is age appropriate for this character, which matters. She's really pretty. That matters too, right? I just don't see the drawback. I thought it was a good casting of her, and she did a phenomenal job as Ariel, and that's to be commended by. Now, some of the another perfect casting was Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. I mean, she nailed it. The look, the sound, the spirit of the character, just phenomenal all around. Jonah Hauer King, interesting because he looks like a prince. He's got that look for sure, but he does look older. He's in his late 20s, right? And if we're going once again by appropriate character's age, he was probably 18, still a teenager too. Here he does look older than Hallie. Like, you do see the age gap sort of thing, even though he's still a young guy, but maybe someone younger would have been visually more like, more appropriate in that way, because he does look older. And if she's technically a teenager and this guy looks like he's in his 20s, I don't know. But overall, I thought he was all right. He does look like a prince. So he's got the look for sure, in general. And he was fine. I don't think this is much about Eric, this film in general. So I was okay with it in that way. Then you had, now this one, I wasn't sure how Javier Bardem would do as King Triton. And to my surprise, he was solid. He was good. I mean, Javier Bardem is one of the best actors on the planet, so of course he can do anything. But I was pleasantly surprised how he pulled this off. The voice cast. Now, that's more of a visual issue than the voice actors behind it. Here's the thing, Disney. And I think this is one of the misses of the film. Again, why did Lion King did not do well? I think a lot of it had to do, at least my personal turnoff was, I felt like I was watching National Geographic or I was watching Animal Planet. I don't want to see real looking animals, like 100% real looking from Animal Planet as a documentary thrown in with some Disney voices behind it. There's a way with CGI, we know that this day and age especially, that you can Disneyfy them. And I'm going to throw up a little graphic here to show you what I mean by that. Make the bulging big eyes sort of, you can make it still look like a real animal, but add those animatic elements to it. The kind of bulging eyes, the sort of the little bit of maneuvering with the facial expressions and the look. You can Disneyfy these live action animals and creatures to make them look live action and animated at the same time. But once again, they just want to be truthful to the animal, the spirit of the animal. So I found Sebastian to look creepy in this film. He had these two eyes that were like far apart. It looked like a real crustacean and crab or whatever, that sort of actual, in the look of that animal, whatever you want to call it. I'm not an animal expert here in terms of especially sea creatures, but he was freaky looking, and I imagine little kids would kind of scared off. The animated Sebastian was fun and cute and cool looking, and this one was just like kind of a creepy looking crab, in that way. Daveed Diggs is a really good actor. He can do comedy and voices. Why didn't he do his own voice? I know you can't recreate the original Sebastian voice. Um, it's iconic, so either use your own voice, but I felt like his Sebastian was like overly stereotypical, kind of like a Jamaican voice, and a stereotypical one, not necessarily an authentic and true one. That would have been fine and fitting, of course, because when we're going this region and everything, this makes sense, right? The original, Sebastian had a Jamaican accent, sort of, but it wasn't over the top. Here, I felt it was like over the top, almost like a farce. Like it was done for like in not a respectful way. I'm sure he was trying to be respectful, but what I'm saying here is just it was an over the top sort of voice done. And when it comes to the voices here, I don't really put fault on actors here because they're just doing what they're kind of given, right? With dialogue and character interpretations. I'm sure they had some character interpretation, but same thing was for Aquafina. Scuttle is just so manic and wild and over the top and talking a million miles a minute. Now, Aquafina does this well. She's a comedian, she's a comedic actress, but when we can't see her face and expressions, and it's in this bird, they also changed the bird type. It's not a seagull, and it's a female, obviously, this time around. So they did take some liberties. We're going to get to that in a second. But it was just like, I think there was like a rap that was done by the character. It just seemed out of place and out of sorts. And it just wasn't fitting. Like it was taking away the scene. It was dominating the scene with Ariel and others in it. And Scuttle isn't supposed to be dominating a scene. We were portrayed to give it it was portrayed, can't speak can't speak literally. I'm Ariel, my voice was taken. Someone's looking above, maybe Ursula's got some spells going, but it was just too wacky. Like it was like Scuttle was on drugs or something, on speed or whatever. It was just too over the top, like lay off the crack, Scuttle, okay? Because it was just too tough to keep up with it. With Aquafina, bless her soul for giving the energy and the sound and voice to this character, but just over the top. Flounder was appropriate because Jacob Tremblay, who's still a young teenage kid, and Flounder is supposed to be young, so that worked in that essence. Now the look of Flounder, it looked like a little fish. I didn't know if like Flounder's supposed to be appropriate size, right? Here was like a little fish tank fish. It was hard to see. The colors were off. It was like silver/blue. He was blending in with the water constantly. It just didn't work. He was very cast aside, the character of Flounder, as a third tier sort of character. And we couldn't see him when he was there too. So that was a problem in itself. So I just thought that the colors of Flounder could have been altered, and if they wouldn't go for exact replica of a real fish, then they Disney-fied and colored it up a bit, could have stood out more, literally. So that was a problem. I just didn't like the look of Sebastian and Flounder because they looked like real animals, and they didn't Disney-fy them, and Disney-fying them would make them stand out, especially in the setting in a background of water where they're just blending into it. I didn't get that. They need to stop doing these real life documentary animals into these live action Disney movies. It's a Disney film. You can make them look real life, but still add that animated element to them. Okay. What am I going to complain about next? This seems like, okay, so the film is 2 hours, 15 minutes. The original 89 film was like an hour and a half. We're adding 45 minutes to this film. Was it too long? A little bit, yes. It could have been a happy medium, probably would have been an hour 50, 2 hours max. Did it need to be 2:15? It did add some necessary scenes, so I did like that aspect, especially when we're talking about the courting of Ariel with Prince Eric. In the cartoon, he meets her next day, he's getting married to Vanessa. Like, there's no courting. They go on the boat ride and that was it. Like, so unrealistic. I mean, let's face it, here there's a little bit more romance. They go on some dates, they hang out more, and I like that being portrayed, that it's not like just one hangout and he's like getting married and dropping her and all that. Here there's like this romance building a little bit here, which I appreciated. That was time used well to build their chemistry and romance on screen and see them together more in general. So that was well done. We had some musical numbers that really need to be done. I think that a Scuttle song was there and didn't need to be there. There's a Prince Eric song, didn't really need to be there. Some things are just like extended too long, even though the movie tries to be faithful. And yes, some words were taken out. Ursula does not call Ariel a tramp like she did in the original. We changed that, and it's not really a big omission or anything here. Probably there's no reason for tramp to be used in this anyway. So that's fine. You change up some dialogue, can't be word for word because you're stretching out the film too. But a little bit shorter would have been better. Kids get tired watching movies. So if you're aiming this for kids, 2 hours is kind of the max point, and an hour 45 would have been a sweet spot. Obviously, you had to do it a bit longer than a cartoon because cartoon ran through some things too quick. So there's that. Another big omission. I mean, you used the extra 45 minutes, but you took out a classic scene, and that's Chef Louis chasing after Sebastian. We don't have that here. There's no Chef Louis or Luis or whatever you want to call him. He's not existing here. So that's one character that was removed from the film. And I thought that scene is always a fun, memorable scene. And I don't know why they removed it. It would have been a simple ad. You could have taken out something else. You had plenty of time to work with. Didn't understand that. Now, here's another thing. So they did take liberties to add some characters. They removed the chef, but they added Prince Eric's mother. So that was not a character we seen or grown accustomed to in the original. And yes, she's black. So that might be startling initially for some. No problem for me with that. Clearly, it makes sense that he was adopted in that case, right? She's black. He's kind of British. He's got a British accent. Yes, he was adopted. But for continuity and storyline, you're adding a new character here that we have not seen before. Let's give it some backstory then. If you're going to do this, give it some backstory. Tell us how Eric got adopted, what happened to the father. She plays the queen, obviously. What happened to the king then? We need some of that background that wasn't given here. Just kind of sort of threw in this new character, but we didn't get, much background about it. And I think it could have been useful not only to develop the character of the queen, but, to get more background in Eric in that way. So Queen Selena does make an appearance, and she's in notable scenes and a few scenes, but we just don't know much about her because, we're not being told much. She just kind of appears and is there. Also, we had, of course, Sir Grimsby. I thought he was fine and fitting, did a good job. So that was kind of true to self, and that worked for that. But yeah, I mean, you had some big names on this cast. Overall, I think everyone did a good job and fit their roles. Just like I said, I think it's more the David and Aquafina thing is more for the lines that they were given, dialogue and the direction. I wasn't there to hear, but I'm sure it's a collaborative process, but just didn't fit in that way. And Jessica Alexander was Vanessa, looked the part, fitting for that role, so that was cool too. But yeah, definitely kudos here first and foremost to Melissa McCarthy and Halle Bailey. They guide this film, from two different ends of it, the villain and the good one. And I'm behind on time right here, as you can see. I'm going to catch up with yes, there I am, caught up. So yeah, that aside, let's talk about the special effects. That's a big thing in these live action films. So special effects wise, we are looking at a film that looks good underwater, right? The effects look great. It's got this magical feel to it. It feels grand. It feels like a whole world underneath the sea world, the animals living in it. It looked good. They did a good job with the CGI and special effects. Now, they did miss on the color grading of it, and it's actually color in general, because this movie looks dark. You watch it in a movie theater, there's several scenes, especially the one where she's her and Flounder are getting away from the shark. It's dark. It's poorly lit. I don't want to feel like I am in the sea, actually in the bottom of the sea where there's probably no light there, but it feels like that watching it. Add some light, lighten it up. Why are we subjected as viewers in a dark movie theater to be squinting and not seeing what's happening on screen? There's too many moments in this film where it's too dark. The screen's too dark. It's almost pitch black. I'm not watching a horror movie, okay? In a horror movie, at least I can expect that. Here, there was no need. You could have lightened it up. You don't need to give this pitch black look in so many instances. It just gives a dark, brooding feel for a movie that should be vibrant and colorful and happy. It changes the mood. It gives it a dark tone and a dark feel to it, and just didn't work in that aspect. So I did not like the use of the darkness here. It just in too much, maybe at one instance, but it's used multiple times over and over. And a lot of times you're just not seeing what's on a screen. And it's unfortunate because you're missing out on some of the performances and CGI and action too around it. So there's that. So pretty much that encapsulates The Little Mermaid. There's some high highs and some misses for sure, and lower lows, especially the darkness of these of the scenes and the color of it. That was a big miss because I don't want to miss out on what I'm watching on screen, and the runtime could have been definitely shortened up, no doubt about it. So how does it stack up against other Disney live action movies? That's going to be the natural conversation here. How does it line up with The Lion King, Aladdin? I think we can say unanimously, for the most part, Aladdin's right at the top. Cinderella's right at the top. You can go with also Beauty and the Beast being really high up there at the top. These are the elite sort of live action, reimagining that they've done. And I think Little Mermaid somewhere in between. It's not at the bottom. There were some misses along the way for sure. The Pinocchios, the Lady and the Tramp, that just didn't hit. Some of these movies just. Lion King was not a good one. I just very forgettable. So yeah, we've seen a lot of these live action Disney movies at this point. They've been making them for years now. So there's a lot to gauge it on. I think Little Mermaid falls somewhere in between. It's not bad and it's not great either. So I think it's solid. It's just kind of a middle in that scale. I wish it was at the top. And they had several things here working for them. The music was great. The singing was great. The look was great with the CGI that they created. And the actors were cast well. So they had that going for them, but you just couldn't put it together. There's these things that they missed on that actually impacts the movie. So it's a middle of the road sort of Disney live action remake. I wish it was better because it had the potential there and it had the right ingredients for it to be, but it doesn't hit like some of these other ones where they just shined. Okay, what am I talking? I can't even talk anymore. I think Ursula's magic is working on me here. Ursula great, by the way. They made her look awesome too. So that's my review of The Little Mermaid. It's long-winded, it's running long here, but it's truthful, right? So how are we going to grade it? Acting. Okay, so out of 10, I am going to take down the points for Sebastian and Aquafina's character here, because they just were not true to the character, over the top, tried to dominate scenes. I just wasn't a fan of it. But otherwise, Halle Bailey, Melissa McCarthy, really good, and all that. So I think it deserves a 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10. A fair and solid score for the acting. Which obviously I think should include the singing too. So, which was the high mark of it. But we'll put the singing in other categories here. The plot and story. It's the same plot and story added to it. I liked some additions, like the courting, the romance was longer and it felt more genuine and real. And some misses, like not having the chef scene and introducing new characters and not giving backstories to them. So, and the runtime also going 45 minutes over, it wasn't maximized fully. So I'd say the story plot, while it tries to be a lot of times song for song, word for word, true to the original, they did take liberties here. So I give that a 7 out of 10. Now, so we're going with the solid 70 so far. Entertainment. Was I entertained? Yes, it was entertaining at times, and sometimes it was dragging too. It felt kind of long, and unless 2 hours 15 minutes, it's pretty long. That's sort of a superhero movie. And when the original was, all done in an hour and a half and had such a reaction, it's an all-time great Disney movie. Do you really need 45 minutes more? So I think it kind of got stale after a while. So sometimes long and length of a film is not a good thing. So I'll give it on an entertainment factor a 6.5 out of 10. Now, creativity. Was it creative? Did it try to do new things? The look of it, I think it did try some creative things. But I will also put here the darkness of the screen and feeling like you're in the middle of the water here, far down below in the bottom of the ocean, and the look of these animals too. This is going to go under creativity. They could have been more creative. So that's a 5 out of 10. I feel like they missed opportunities here on that aspect, in the creativity aspect. They did a great job making Hallie look like Little Mermaid with her outfit, her obviously, the mermaid tail looked great. Everything looked great. Her hair. So they made her look awesome. And same thing with Triton too. He did look like a king of the seas. Okay. So they made him look kind of cool too, underwater. And Ursula also, great job making her look. Otherwise, they missed with the creatures, like I mentioned earlier. So 5 out of 10 on that. And then we're talking about impressions. What impression is left with this film? Like I said, solid, but there's things to be desired. I think they had the right idea. The execution just missed on some parts here. So, on the impression of it, at times looks great. The CGI looks great undersea. Other times it doesn't. So it kind of folds into like a 6 out of 10, because you got some hits and misses. So overall, we're looking at a high 60s, low 70s sort of film score here. So it's good. It's probably worth seeing. There's those pitch black moments I'm going to keep on talking to you about. That's going to be hard to see in a theater. Maybe it's going to be better on digital and Blu-ray when you get a chance to like alter the brightness of the screen and all that might change when you have your own navigating capabilities. But for what the theater gives you, you couldn't do anything about that. So it's a solid film. Fans probably should go out and see it. They have seen it. I'm sure it's a big deal. But if you're kind of on the edge or on the fence or indifferent, I'd say if you have a kid, that's a reason to go. Take your kids out, have a family night. If you're with a significant other who's a Disney fan too, that work. If you're just looking for a movie to see on a weekend, probably there's better choices out there, So there's that on The Little Mermaid. I'm probably going to get a ton of hate now, so that's fine. It's what I review films for, right? To get polarizing opinions from everyone. But make sure to subscribe. That's a big deal for me. So hit that subscribe button. It helps out for sure. If you like this review, give it a thumbs up and like it. That also helps. And make sure to follow me on social media at the Jim Alexander. and also at The Real Talker. That's on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, comment if you've seen the movie, you have your thoughts, you agreed, disagreed, please make sure to let me know. I'm curious to hear. And let's have a debate and conversation. That's what it's about. And until next time, I'm going into the sea. That was lame.